This is a daily wrap up. It is Tuesday, May 29th, 2018. We're currently looking at the Euro Yen. So this is a daily chart. Right now we're going to scan through the daily chart. So I'm going to give everybody sort of an idea if you're following along with my trades and my expectation over the next few days, few weeks. That's why I usually put together these sort of end of the day videos, not only to talk about what I might be doing maybe over the next couple of trading sessions or the next few weeks or what I'm anticipating on the daily time frame, but also what we did for today. So we have been looking at this take profit level, the 124.20 area here on the Euro Yen for quite some time. It broke out the beginning of last week, and this breakout signal candle here, that was on the 23rd. That was, I think, Wednesday of last week. So this was a daily candle that printed a continuation breakout trade. So I'm going to show you how I sort of correlate a lot of the things that I see here on the daily chart to what I do on an intraday basis. So if you're using the Trade Copier service, you know that I'm not executing trades on the daily time frame, but I'm watching the daily time frame for confirmation, the continuation of a certain trade. If I get into one on the 1 hour chart, direction of the trend. There's a lot of things that I'm looking for confirmation, support, and resistance. So I want to make sure that if I'm going to be trading in a particular direction, that I take a look at the 4 hour and the daily chart, things like that. So going back to the 23rd when it printed this continuation signal candle, that's the signal candle. Now this technique, the continuation breakout trade technique, I developed this back in 2001. It can be used on the 4 hour and the daily chart. But again, for the Trade Copier signal service, the system through MT4, the MT4 where I execute a trade and it duplicates a trade into your account, that is all those trades, that is done primarily on the 1 hour chart. Again, I'm using the daily and the 4 hour to confirm. Here is where I would expect price. That's why I'm bringing attention to this daily time frame. Here is where I would expect price to find an area of possible support. It might pull away, it might bounce, it might come back up and test the level that it broke out of, which is right back up here at about the 129.30 area, and then turn around and come back down. Overall, it's still possible that it could go a lot lower. We're talking about maybe even the possibility 116. However, I don't, when let me go back over here. When it approaches a take profit level like this, at that point, I'm done. Right? So if I'm going to switch over to the 1 hour chart, and I'll show you what we did today. Here's the continuation breakout trade today, 80 pips. This was in the same direction as what we could see on the daily chart. This is the Euro Yen. 80 pips is the breakout trade. So when it approaches a major support level or resistance level on the larger time frames, this is the 1 hour chart. We wouldn't know where that major or that support, that possible support level is unless we were on the daily chart. That's why I look at the daily chart. So I take that information along with the breakout that developed back on the 23rd, and there were multiple continuation breakout trades. This is getting close to an area where I would expect, not I'm insisting on, but I would expect that there would be the possibility of a pretty significant bounce. It doesn't have to happen, and it doesn't mean that it will. It still looks like it's in a downtrend, but the possibility of seeing a pretty sharp retracement back up again to retest that level that it broke out of that I showed you on the daily chart, that is a possibility. And when I'm in that type of environment, I want to make sure that I lock in profits, and I want to make sure that I'm careful. It's very easy to get into a trade, hold on to a trade thinking, okay, well, it's got to go lower. It's got to go lower. I know it's in a downtrend. I don't care. It's got to go lower. If you start thinking like that, it's easy to hold on to some of these trades too long, and they reverse and they go back the opposite direction, and you're not accepting the possibilities that the market can react that way. It can, and it does react that way. So locking in profits and taking profits at very specific strategic locations, like the 80 pip location from the entry. This was an 80 pip trade on the continuation breakout trade. This occurred during the London session for Tuesday, today. So again, what I said was when it gets to some of these lower support levels, at that point, I'm done with these trades. So on an intraday basis, when they reach their targets, I'm done with the trade, and then I reset and look for another opportunity. If I'm going to continue to trade it in a downward direction in this downtrend, as I mentioned on the daily chart, it looks like it could go lower, but right now at the level that it's sitting, it looks like it could possibly spike back up. That could be with news, comments, statements, things like that. So we've got to prepare for that possibility. We're really overextended here. It's really dropped quite a ways. There's been multiple continuation breakout trades on this time frame, and it's very, very likely that eventually you're going to get into one of these continuation breakout trades at the end of a trend, thinking that it's going to go lower, and it turns out it goes right back up and you get stopped out. So we are at a level based on the daily time frame where I would say it's time to be a little more cautious than if I was to go back to that time frame again, than if we were to be back at, let's say, when it was looking like this after the initial breakout. After the initial breakout, we had this projected price target down here, but we had a long way to go. Still, I mean, it's still possible. Anything's still possible. But if everything is done correctly, this continuation breakout trade is accurate 90 to 95% of the time. And we are at a pretty significant support level, this area. So I want to be really careful. The 125, that's a major psychological level. Again, I'm not saying that it won't go any lower, but it could retrace quite a bit. And I'm using a 55 pip stop loss on all my trades. So in order for me to use that 55 pip stop loss, I need to make sure that I stay away from the environment or the possibilities where the retracements could be a lot more deeper, they would push back against my trade a lot more than 55 pips. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to use a stop loss larger than 55 pips. So this is, again, at an area where I think we might see a little bit of consolidation, maybe a little bouncing around. If not, I'm going to get a second entry opportunity to sell it again and to sell it lower to some of these areas like perhaps the 116, or actually the 117. It is possible that we could trade this a lot lower. Taking a look at the daily time frame here on the euro dollar, a continuation breakout trade today. And it is at the extension target that we've been looking at, but finally hit the second target. This is the second Fibonacci extension target. I'll open this up so you can see what I'm talking about. It almost hit it right on the number. You can see it right there. It almost hit it right on the number. That was today's trading range. This is a live chart. This is the daily time frame, daily candles, euro, dollar. It is at a solid Fibonacci extension target. I traded these extension targets all of the time. I always have. They are what I use when I have the ability to use the Fibonacci tool correctly in the most appropriate price swing. Sometimes price swings won't give you the opportunity to really find or measure or use that Fibonacci tool. Sometimes it just breaks out, right? It's not always going to be the same thing. In this instance, we've been watching this, this retracement, this A high, B low. It bounced around, hit the 618, then the 786, and it just took a long time for it to finally close below that B low, and then it dropped. It is finally today hit that extension target, the last extension target based on this price swing, the price action that's here, this consolidation. That consolidation lasted all through February, March, and April, late April when it finally broke out, and here we are at that extension target. I would expect, it doesn't mean that it's not going to go any lower, but I would expect that if there's going to be some kind of a retracement or consolidation or pullback, it could probably happen here. We're also looking at, and I'll show you the daily time frame on the dollar index and what I was doing today with these trades. There was a continuation breakout trade this morning on the euro dollar as well. Let me show you that one. Let's go here. This was the continuation breakout trade this morning. Same time, same setup. This continuation breakout trade occurred on the euro dollar 1 hour time frame at about the same time as the pound dollar. This is the pound dollar. This is the continuation breakout trade. Here we earned 55 pips on the continuation breakout trade on the euro dollar. On the pound dollar, we earned 55 pips. On the euro yen, approximately 80 pips to the first target. So going back to the euro dollar before I move away from the daily time frame here, you'll notice how this stops right here and pulls away. And as I'm trading, and I talk about this quite a bit, so I have a 4-point trade filter. And I developed this many, many years ago, and it gives me the opportunity to not only determine what kind of trading conditions so at the beginning of the day, I want to take a look at and try to assess what the day could what it might do, right? There's no way to really know 100% of the time, and I hesitate in trying to share a lot of this information with people because they'll try to hold me to it, and it's not like that. Trading is not something that you can do the same exact thing every single day. I mean, you can control your behavior, but the market is not going to act the way you want it to every day, is what I'm trying to say. So when I sit down and I use this 4-point trade filter, what I'm doing is I'm trying to gauge the possibilities, right? I'm trying to determine if I'm trading in a consolidated market or if there's a possibility of a breakout, or is it still trending and the breakout already occurred? Is there the possibility of a significant retracement or a sharp reaction? Is the market waiting? There's a lot of different things. It can be, it circulates around political events, economic events, lots of different things can have an impact there. So with this 4-point trade filter, not only am I trying to assess the conditions in that way, I'm looking at volume, I'm looking at futures. If I'm going to trade, for example, the dollar yen or the yen crosses, I'm always watching Japanese yen futures. I trade futures at the same time as well for my own personal account, so I'm watching futures. I'm looking at Japanese yen futures. I'm looking at economic data across the board. Now, with that being said, I'm also looking at, and we just talked about this a moment ago, these key support and resistance levels and extension targets on the larger time frames. It is why I incorporate the 4-hour and the daily chart into all of my trades, even though I'm executing these trades with the trade copier on the 1-hour time frame. I'm taking profits here based on what I see and this trading activity here on the 1-hour chart. But I'm correlating all of this data and when I should stop trading and when I could expect a bounce, all at the same time watching the larger time frames. So follow me along here while we go through, and I'll just make this real quick how I'm pulling all of this together. Now, obviously tomorrow, because this has already hit a major support or resistance, I'm going to show you the dollar in a minute, that would be resistance. But because it's already happened today, obviously tomorrow maybe it'll retest those levels. But this doesn't happen every day, right? Every day is going to be a different day. It's a different situation. You've always got to base and classify your trades and your execution of those trades, the type of techniques that you're going to use based on the conditions. So let's go along here with the euro dollar. This was a continuation breakout trade, and it bottomed out here with a low at 1.1510. Let's go back over here to the daily time frame for the euro dollar that I showed you just a moment ago. There's that extension target. It bottomed out at 1.1510. 1.1510. That's that last final extension target right there, based on all of this this data, this technical analysis that has been in place all through February. We're waiting for the breakout. We watched this consolidation. We traded all the way through it. Eventually, when it broke out late April, here was our targets. We had a couple of different targets that we were locking in profits along the way. And here at that point, it stops. Now I want to show you the dollar. This is the dollar index right up here. The dollar, US dollar, it's not a cross pair. This is the daily time frame right here. That green line right there is major support, resistance on the dollar index. At the same time, it's developing here in the euro dollar. When this was happening today, I was in my euro dollar trade, my pound dollar trades, the other trades on the yen crosses, on those continuation breakout trades. Here is the dollar index 1-hour time frame. Here's the same continuation breakout trade right here in the same direction. And when it found and it started to approach that resistance and started to pull back and printed this evening star, I was done with my trades. I have a video recorded earlier today stating and showing as this evening star on the 1-hour chart for the dollar index was developing, that my assumption at that point was I'm done trading for the day. I've locked in profits. I've closed my trades. I can see what's happening here. It's major resistance on the dollar index. It's time to sit back and reset. I use that term, reset. So I'm done with my trades, and now I'm going to reevaluate what I'm going to do tomorrow, or for the end of the day. Here we are looking and analyzing the daily time frames and trying to determine what are we going to do tomorrow. Is it possible that tomorrow could just more or less move sideways on a big move like this? We've seen, a big trending move for quite some time. We've seen the euro dollar drop quite a bit. We've seen the dollar rally quite a bit. Now we're at these extreme levels. It's possible that we could see a significant retracement. It's possible that this is as far as it's going to go. And it's also possible that it could continue higher. So it's time to be careful. It's time to be careful. We've got to lock in profits, which is what we've done. And now it's time to pay closer attention to what's our next move. It is possible that tomorrow I could have no trades just because it could be in, moving in tight, close ranges just like this on the 1 hour time frame, and I may not get a signal. Whatever the case, I'm certainly not going to force a trade, but I want to show you how I'm pulling all of this data together. This is just, obviously I'm not showing you futures, I'm not showing you a lot of the details, but here we are looking at the information that is available for the most part on the MetaTrader platform, and that's how I'm pulling together all of these trades here. Same thing, whether I'm using the continuation breakout trade or the HL30, whatever it is, I've got to look for these specific conditions that are going to be optimum for this technique, for any technique that I use. I might be switching, of course, over to maybe trading a Tech 1 trade, which is a reversal. I use the Tech 1 trade, which is a technique that I developed at major support and resistance levels, or possibly the HL30, or again, it's possible that the market may need to digest this information. So thanks for watching this video. I hope that explained a lot of the strategies and the methodologies behind my trading techniques with the best Forex trade copier.